Welcome back to FPL Vortex, this is Muku. Game Week 37 is the focus today, and this breakdown covers everything you need to make the right calls before the deadline. The analysis is built on Poisson expected goals modeling and a custom fixture difficulty rating system, so every recommendation has a clear data foundation behind it. We are running for around 25 minutes today, and the agenda is structured around 5 key areas. We start with the fixture ticker to understand where the schedule is opening up and closing down over the coming weeks. From there, we move into transfer targets and identify the players the numbers are pointing toward right now. We then cover the injury and suspension picture, because the best fixture analysis means nothing if your players do not make it onto the pitch. After that, we work through the captaincy options and explain which one the model backs most strongly for this round. And we finish with the team reveal. Let's get into it. At the time of recording this video, on Monday the 11th of May 2026 at 18 PM Eastern, this is the live state of the Game Week 37 transfer market. These numbers are pulled directly from the official FPL API in real time, so the underlying intelligence here is as accurate and current as it gets. The transfer data is a useful signal, but the numbers only become meaningful once you understand the reasoning behind them. Let's look at the 3 biggest names coming in this week and explain what the market is actually responding to. The biggest mover this week is Doku, the midfielder from Man City. 88,000 managers have brought him in, and against Bournemouth away the model projects 7.5 expected points. That kind of volume is not noise. The market is backing elite recent form with an exploitable matchup, and the data supports it. Second in the incomings is Gyökeres from Arsenal. The forward has attracted 56,000 transfers this week, with a projected return of 6.5 expected points against Burnley at home. This looks like a considered move. The numbers suggest managers are backing elite recent form with an exploitable matchup. And completing the top 3 is Soccer from Arsenal. The midfielder is now owned by 11.3% of squads after 43,000 new transfers this week. Against Burnley at home, the projection sits at 5 expected points. Worth noting that this is largely a case of ignoring average form to attack a genuine fixture swing. Now the other side. The sell data is often just as informative as the buys, because it tells you where confidence is breaking down. Here are the 3 players being moved on most heavily this week. The heaviest sell this week is Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. The midfielder is being moved on by 80,000 managers, and the reason is clear. Flagged out with facial injury, 50% chance of playing, this is a force market pivot. He is carrying a fitness flag, so mandate a firm hold until the Friday press conferences confirm his exact status. Next is Semenyo from Man City. The midfielder is seeing 58,000 transfers out this week. His output has dropped to 2 points per game, prompting an exodus for better upside. And Rodgers from Aston Villa completes the outgoings picture. Over 55,000 teams have already made the move, and the reasoning is fairly straightforward. Holding him into the Liverpool at home fixture is a risk most are not willing to take. Watching these transfer trends allows us to let the broader market make the emotional decisions, while we map out the structural inefficiencies. Aligning your transfers with the right data points dictates your trajectory. The pattern across these buys and sells is fairly consistent. Managers are moving toward good fixtures and away from poor ones or unavailable players. The next section takes that further and breaks down exactly who the underlying numbers are pointing toward this week. We move now to the sword and shield strategy. The basic idea is simple: before you look for differential upside, you need to know which high ownership players you cannot afford to be without. The shields come first. These are the players where missing their points costs you rank regardless of what else you do right. We start with the shields, the high ownership heavyweights with strong fixtures who act as your rank insurance. Gabriel from Arsenal leads the shield list. The defender is held by 45.2% of managers, and there is a clear reason for that. Against Burnley at home, the projected return is 7.7 expected points. This is not a pick you make for upside. You hold him because not holding him is the bigger risk. Next is Holland, the Man City forward. At 64.4% ownership, not having him in your squad starts to cost rank even before the fixture. Against Bournemouth away, the model projects 6 points, and that is consistent enough to trust. The case for leaving him out needs to be very specific. Completing the shield group is Raya from Arsenal. Facing Burnley at home, the expected return sits at 8 points, and 35.6% of the game agrees he is worth starting. Get this part of the squad sorted first and then look at where you can afford to be creative elsewhere. With the core holdings confirmed, the next question is where the differential edge comes from. The swords are the lower-owned options the model rates for this game week. These are not guaranteed hauls, but the fixture quality and ownership level make them interesting. The standout differential right now is Ojala. Sitting at a highly appealing 0.9% ownership, the Newcastle forward is showing significant upside. The underlying numbers point to an expected 6 return heading into the West Ham at home clash. This is a calculated strike against a vulnerable defence. Then we have Hinchelwood. He is flying completely under the radar at just 1.1%. What the masses are missing is his potential against Leeds away, where the model forecasts a strong 6.7-point haul. This is the exact profile of a player who shifts momentum in your favour. Finally, keep a close eye on Trossard. His minutes are highly secure, yet he is owned by only 0.9% of managers. Facing Burnley at home, his 5.3 expected points suggest he is being overlooked by the broader market. Moving early on assets like the Arsenal midfielder separates the elite from the pack. Hold the shields, consider the swords if they fit your squad, and do not overthink the middle ground. The fixture map comes next, and that is where a lot of these decisions get confirmed or changed. Here is the fixture difficulty map across the next 2 weeks. Rather than a basic opponent ranking, this is built on projected expected goals, which gives a more accurate picture of where the real attacking and defensive value sits. Let's start with the 3 easiest schedules. Arsenal sit top of the fixture list with an average difficulty score of 2.4. Their run includes Burnley and Crystal Palace, and the underlying attacking projections reflect that. If you are looking for a squad direction over the next few weeks, this is a reasonable place to start. Just below them, Chelsea carry a 2.8 average. Games against Tottenham and Sunderland give their key players a genuine scoring window, and the difficulty score backs that up. And Man City also land in a good position, sitting at 2.9 over this stretch. Fixtures like Bournemouth and Aston Villa make their assets worth tracking, particularly if you already hold them and are deciding whether to sell. On the other end, these are the 3 schedules where the data makes a clear case for moving assets on. The hardest schedule belongs to Aston Villa, at 3.2 average. They face Liverpool and Manchester City over this run, and that makes a strong case for moving their players on sooner rather than later. Wolves also have a difficult window with a 3.2 rating. Games against Fulham and Burnley limit what their attacking players can realistically deliver during this stretch. And Burnley sit at the tougher end at 3.3, with Arsenal and Wolves coming up. The difficulty score is not disqualifying on its own, but combined with the specific fixtures, the case for selling is there. That is the macro picture. The next step is identifying which players within these schedules are actually worth targeting on a week-by-week basis. The attacking projections come next. The projected goals map covers the next 2 weeks of attacking output across all 20 clubs. This is not based on recent form. It is built on projected shot volume against specific opponents, which gives a more stable picture of where the returns are likely to come from. Leading the attacking projections is Arsenal, coming in at 3.5 expected goals over this window. Their system is consistently generating good quality chances, and the underlying numbers reflect that. If you are not holding their key attackers, the fixture run makes a reasonable case for getting involved. In second place is Chelsea, projecting 2.9 expected goals. The chance creation data is solid here, and the schedule supports it. Their forwards and attacking midfielders are worth considering if the price fits. And Man City rounds out the top 3 at 2.8 expected goals. The shot volume and fixture difficulty combination puts them in a positive position. Holding their attacking assets through this period looks justified on the data. The flip side is just as important. These are the attacks where the numbers are not telling a positive story right now. Aston Villa sit near the bottom with a projection of 2.5 expected goals. Their system is not generating the kind of volume you want from FPL assets over this stretch. Similarly, Wolves project at 2.5 expected goals. The final third output has been limited, and the fixtures do not offer much relief either. And at the bottom of the table, Burnley come in at 2.4 expected goals. Holding their attackers as active starters through this window is a difficult position to justify when better options are available. The attacking picture is relatively clear. Target squads at the top of the table and think carefully about the ones at the bottom. The next section moves to the defensive side and looks at where the clean sheet probability is highest over this stretch. The clean sheet map covers the next 2 weeks of defensive probability across all clubs. This uses opponent expected goals to calculate the likelihood of a shutout, which is a more accurate baseline than just looking at recent defensive
We are running for
form.
around 10 minutes today, and the agenda is structured around 5 key areas. We start with the fixture ticker to
31.2% on average. Their defensive structure is limiting opponent chances consistently, and the numbers reflect that. Their backs and keeper are reliable starting options. Just behind them, Arsenal project at 30.7%. The defensive data is solid here, and the upcoming schedule supports it. Their defenders are worth holding or targeting if the fixtures align with your squad plan. And Chelsea round out the top three with a 30.1% projection. All three of these squads offer a reasonable defensive floor over the next few weeks. The other side of the table is where you want to think about reducing exposure. At the bottom, Sunderland project at just 23.3% clean sheet probability. Their backline is conceding chances at a rate that makes a shutout unlikely over this stretch. Similarly, Crystal Palace come in at 22.7%. Their defensive output has been limited, and the upcoming fixtures do not offer much help. And Burnley sit at the bottom of the clean sheet table with 20.9%. If you hold defenders from any of these three clubs, it is worth asking whether the points floor justifies the starting spot. The defensive picture is fairly straightforward. The clean sheet probability follows the fixture map closely. Before we move on, it is worth flagging that none of this matters for players who do not make it onto the pitch. The injury and suspension report is next. Now the injury and availability picture. This is often where game week planning falls apart, so it is worth being clear on which flags are serious and which are precautionary. We are covering the highest priority cases only, prioritized by ownership and how likely a player is to miss out on minutes. The most important case to flag this week is Anderson from Fulham. He is suspended for game week 37, so he contributes nothing this round. At 4.1% ownership, the priority is getting him off the active bench and deciding whether to sell before the price moves. The next concern is Ballard, the defender from Sunderland. He is suspended for game week 37, so he contributes nothing this round. At 2.7% ownership, the priority is getting him off the active bench and deciding whether to sell before the price moves. Worth monitoring closely is Okafor from Leeds. He is ruled out for this fixture window. 2.2% of managers are still holding, but the live FPL data feed is clear on the situation. The latest update is calf injury, expected back the 24th of May. If you hold him, the decision is whether to sell now or wait for more information. The price risk increases the longer you wait. Further down the list, Jimenez from Bournemouth also needs attention. He is ruled out for this fixture window. 0.2% of managers are still holding, but the live FPL data feed is clear on the situation. The latest update is made unavailable for selection on the 8th of May. Unknown return date. If you hold him, the decision is whether to sell now or wait for more information.
For the deadline.
We
are running for around 10 minutes today, and the agenda is structured around 5 key areas. We start with the fixture ticker
for this fixture window. 1.8% of managers are still holding, but the live FPL data feed is clear on the situation. The latest update is leg injury, expected back the 1st of July. If you hold him, the decision is whether to sell now or wait for more information. The price risk increases the longer you wait. The general rule is simple. Do not make transfer decisions based on midweek speculation. The manager press conferences on Friday are where the useful information comes from. With the availability picture clearer now, let's move on to the full 20-team breakdown. This slide gives you the full 20-team picture for game week 37. Two tables side by side, attacking projections on the left, clean sheet probability on the right. This is purely based on this week's fixtures and the expected goals model, so it reflects the specific matchups rather than seasonal trends. Starting with the attacking projections. At the top of the attacking table this week are Arsenal and Everton, projecting 2.0 and 1.6 expected goals respectively. Both are generating good shot volume against their specific opponents this round, and their forward and midfield assets deserve starting consideration. Chelsea, Newcastle, and Brentford fill out the top 5. All three have reasonable upside this week, and any attacking picks from these squads are well supported by the underlying numbers. At the bottom of the attacking table sit Nottingham Forest, Spurs, and Burnley. Their projected output this week is limited, and if you have a benching decision to make, the data points pretty clearly to where the lowest ceiling options are. On the defensive side, the clean sheet probabilities for this specific game week tell a fairly clear story. Leading the defensive table this week is Bournemouth at 38.8% shutout probability. Wolves and Leeds follow at 38.1% and 35.9% respectively. These three offer the best defensive floor for this round, and their backs and goalkeepers are reliable starting options. Aston Villa and Brentford also sit in a reasonable defensive position this week, which helps resolve any close calls in your backline selection. At the bottom of the clean sheet table this week are Man City, Brighton, and Fulham. Their shutout probability is low enough that starting their defenders as a primary clean sheet vehicle is hard to justify when better options are available. The table gives you a clear framework. The players at the top of both metrics are your priorities for starting, and the ones at the bottom are where you look when deciding who sits out. Let's move on to the individual targets and avoids now. Now the individual targets and avoids. Injuries and suspensions have already been covered, so this section focuses purely on fixture-driven selection decisions. The left column is players to move toward. The right column is players to reconsider. Starting with the targets. Raya from Arsenal is the first name on the target list this week. The goalkeeper leads the incoming transfer data, and the reasons are straightforward. Against Burnley at home too, the model project's 8.0
We are running for around 10
points.
minutes today, and the agenda is structured around 5 key areas.
Back that up.
We start with the fixture ticker
Ownership is at 35.6%, which means moving now still gives you a differential edge before the market catches up. The second priority is Gabriel, the Arsenal defender. This is a considered move rather than a reactive one. Facing Burnley at home too next, the expected return sits at 7.7 points. That is a reasonable ceiling to work with, and the difficulty score reflects it. At 45.2%, he is not yet universally owned. A return here shifts rank in a way that a heavier template pick simply cannot. Doku is worth a look here. The Man City midfielder has been largely ignored by the wider market, which is where the value sits. The Bournemouth away or 3 matchup opens up a genuine scoring window. 7.5 expected points is where the model lands, and that looks justified. With 5.6% of squads holding him, the risk of being without him on a big week is already meaningful. Further down the board, Casemiro from Man United stands out. The midfielder profile fits what the fixture map is offering right now. Going into Nottingham Forest at home 3, the data is pointing in the right direction. 6.5 expected points, with an fixture difficulty rating of 2.7, tells you the fixture is worth targeting. The 5.4% ownership figure is worth noting. Not so low that it feels speculative, but not so high that the rank upside disappears either. And rounding out the targets is Gyökeres from Arsenal. The data makes a reasonable case. This is straightforwardly about the Burnley at home 2 fixture. 6.5 expected points and a clean difficulty score make the case without needing much more justification. At 15.5%, the data does not leave much room for debate. The fixture, the profile, and the ownership level all point the same direction. Those are the players the numbers are pointing toward this week. Now the other side. These are the names where the data makes a case for moving on or benching. On the sell side, Dubravka from Burnley is the clearest case for moving on this week. Against Arsenal away R4, the projected return drops to 0.0 expected points. That is not enough to justify holding when better options are available. With 26.5% still holding him, moving now keeps you ahead of the likely sell-off after this fixture. The data is also making a case against Van de Ven from Spurs. The defender warrants a proper look before the deadline. The Chelsea away for fixture is where the value runs out. The model projects 2.4 points, and the difficulty score confirms it is not worth trusting. At 17.6% ownership, the window to sell without significant rank damage is still open. It narrows after the weekend. Richarlison from Spurs is a name to consider selling. The numbers are not pointing in the right direction right now. Going into Chelsea away R4, the data is not supportive. 3.4 expected points is the ceiling here, and that kind of return does not move the needle. The 6.2% template presence can make this feel like a bigger decision than it is. The fixture and the underlying numbers make the case clearly. That is the targets and avoids picture for this week. The decisions do not need to be complicated. Follow the fixture data, check the ownership levels, and focus on the moves that are straightforward rather than the ones that require justification. Although on paper model recommend different open eye on, I suggest to target defense and attack of Everton for upcoming game week. Let's move on to the squad review now. Game week 36 is in the books. This was a triple captain game week. We activated the chip on Holland from Man City. He returned 11 base points, tripled to 33 with the chip. Here is the full breakdown of how the squad performed. Anchoring the structure between the sticks, Verbruggen was tasked with holding the defensive baseline. The defensive block was mathematically engineered around Gabriel, O'Reilly and Van Heck. Operating as the creative engine in midfield, Gross, Cherki, Fernandez, Soccer, and Tavernier carried our primary playmaking threat. Leading the strike force, Holland and Calvert-Lewin were deployed to ruthlessly convert the expected goals data. Providing the necessary cover on the bench were Darlow, João Pedro, Hill and Struijk. The standout performer this game week was Gabriel from Arsenal, who delivered 11 points and was the engine of our haul. Soccer from Arsenal was the lowest returner this week with just 2 points. Worth reviewing before the next deadline. With this being a double game week, the round is not over yet. We still have active minutes pending from O'Reilly, Cherki, and Holland from Man City. So far, this iteration has secured a running tally of 81 points. Crucially, this score secured a green arrow, climbing 3,461 places to push our overall rank to 24,836. A superb return, comfortably elite this week. The model delivered. Once the final whistle blows, we will lock in the master blueprint for Game Week 37. Here is the fully locked blueprint for Game Week 37. Every selection is driven by the Vortex fixture model, no sentiment, no gut feeling, just confirmed data. Between the sticks, we are starting Verbruggen to secure the highest clean sheet floor. The backline is mathematically constructed around Gabriel, O'Reilly, Van Hecke and Hill, chosen for their fixture security heading into the round. Defensively, the model specifically backs Gabriel from Arsenal, whose underlying numbers forecast 7.7 expected points against Burnley at home. Driving the creative engine in midfield, Gross, Cherki, Fernandez, and Soccer carry the primary attacking intent. In midfield, Gross from Brighton is the primary creative focal point this week. At 0% ownership, his 6.5-point projection against Leeds away is an absolute cornerstone of this draft. Leading the forward line, Holland and Calvert-Lewin carry our goal threat. Up top, Holland from Man City remains the premium attacking anchor. The model targets 6.0 expected points against Bournemouth away. The bench cover is provided by Darlow, Tavernier, João Pedro and Struijk, structured to ensure maximum auto-sub protection. The captaincy is mathematically locked on Gabriel from Arsenal. Facing Burnley at home, the model projects a baseline of 7.7 expected points. With 0% of the game backing him, this is the highest confidence armband decision this round. Gross from Brighton holds the vice-captaincy, projecting 6.5 expected points against Leeds away. If the captain misses out, the vice-captain is perfectly positioned to absorb the damage. Looking at the transfer watchlist heading into the deadline, here are the names the data is flagging as priority acquisitions. Doku from Man City, projecting 7.5 expected points against Bournemouth away. Gyökeres from Arsenal, projecting 6.5 expected points against Burnley at home. Saliba from Arsenal, projecting 7.0 expected points against Burnley at home. Rice from Arsenal, projecting 4.5 expected points against Burnley at home. These are the assets to evaluate closely before the window closes. All chips have been deployed this season. The focus from here is purely on free transfer discipline and structural efficiency. Get the squad confirmed and locked before the Game Week 37 deadline. Remove the emotion, trust the model, and let the data dictate your rank. The chip strategy slide. Under the current FPL rules, managers get 2 uses of each chip, 1 per half of the season. Game weeks 1 to 19 in the first half, 20 to 38 in the second. The global data gives you a useful benchmark for where the market has already deployed. In the first half, 45.5% of managers used their wildcard, and 39.2% used the bench boost. In the second half so far, 32.1% have played the free hit and 35.0% the triple captain. If you are still sitting on chips at this stage of the season, the conversation shifts. The question is not whether to use them, it is when the fixtures create the right conditions. Look at the double and blank game week still to come. The bench boost works best with a large active squad in a double game week. The free hit is most valuable when your squad is poorly set up for a blank round and you need a clean build. The triple captain is a straightforward decision, use it when a high ownership premium player has a strong single fixture or a double. Do not hold chips out of habit. Make sure the deployment has a clear objective and a fixture window that justifies it. That is everything for Game Week 37. Let's bring the key points together. First, attack the good fixtures, target Arsenal defense and Man City attacker, avoid the bottom 3 teams. The expected goals map has been clear throughout this video about where the scoring opportunity sits, so use it. Second, get the transfer sorted. Players like Doku are being targeted for a reason, and the window to move early is narrowing. Third, deal with the liabilities. Assets like Gibbs-White are facing difficult conditions, and holding through poor fixtures is a manageable risk that still costs rank over time. Fourth, if the squad is already in a good place, consider rolling the free transfer. Going into the next game week with an extra move is a genuine edge. We cannot predict how the final game week 38 formation looks like. There will be much more rotation, so saving minimum 2 free transfer will be an elite move. And I feel we need to target Everton defense and attack for the upcoming game week. And finally, the captaincy. The model backs Gabriel this week, with Gross as the cover if anything changes before deadline. If you have a specific transfer question or a squad decision you want a second opinion on, drop it in the comments. I go through them before the deadline and either reply directly or pick the most interesting ones for the next video. Good luck with the game week.